Welcome to 24/7 Flat Earth Discord channel. Be sure to go to VC Check and 1 to get your VC verification tags to get involved in the conversation about our Earth. Be sure to bring your verifiable Earth curvature evidence, though.
Enemy spotted. Caught in the crossfire.
Together, you know. But
no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying generally, it's like if I were to go for any group of people, like I don't know, it seems like flat earthers, they're better off than any leftist or a right wing group of. I don't know. They're all.
I think you're right. We're putting ourselves at least in a better position. Like a lot of people are doing good health wise that focus on that. That's not everybody. But maybe percentage wise, that might be higher. When it comes to the whole left-right thing. When it comes to the whole left-right thing, I mean, clearly, if you are choosing a side, you are in a trap. Like you're already fucked. You can't choose a side. If you can see through the mess and kind of past it, it's hard to see completely through it, like clearly, but to at least recognize that it's a mess that you shouldn't get entangled with, like that's a good start. And a lot of flat earthers are there.
Yeah, just always remember, Tim, elections are too important to leave up to voters. That's all you got to know.
Elections are too important. Oh, yeah.
Elections are too important to leave up to voters, or, as Mark Twain said, if elections mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. So just remember that.
Yeah, that's true. Dude, I know it's all bullshit, man. I'm wide awake to everything.
The question is how far back does it go, or has it always been that way? Like, has any election ever been legitimate in the United States government?
Nope. Zero.
I don't think so.
Zero.
I don't think so.
I think even back in the Greek times when they were dropping rocks and pots properly.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
President Ryan, Ryan, that Greek guy who did the sticks and shadows, elections were probably legit back then.
Eratosthenes or Eratosthenes.
Yeah. When they voted on whether or not the stick and the shadow were in the right place, and if they proved the Earth was a...
There's every cloud's got a little silver lining, so you might be dead, but one man's dead is another man's alive.
Cricket, I don't need that right now. I mean, I guess I appreciate you trying to see the warmer sides of things.
I'll tell you what, you know what you need to do is...
Well, what the f*** do I need to do? What the f*** do I need to do?
Well, for starters, you shouldn't cut. At that rate, you're never going to be a real little boy.
Well, clearly, I'm not going to be a real boy ever again. All right? I'm a puppet. I'm a puppet. That's what I am. I'm a puppet. I'm not a real boy. I tried to be a real boy. I'm not a real boy anymore. I'm a puppet, Cricket. I'm a puppet!
Okay, that way.
Yeah.
They did. They had Wi-Fi. They had Wi-Fi.
It's so funny. It's so funny that people will say this stuff, but it's like you don't even understand that proof for a globe, even though it's not proof for a globe at all, it makes no sense. There's no way he could have done an accurate experiment. It just, you can't. It's just so stupid, dude. But the story always changes. Like they said, it was wells. It actually wasn't sticks at all. It was it was wells, and you look down the well. So I don't even know.
Huey liked my
Whatever.
joke. I could hear him giggling in the background. He had to quiet himself. You accidentally said stinks instead of sticks.
I did.
Yeah. Well, it sounded like it anyway. Like sticks. It sounded
Oh,
like stinks almost. I said, dude, my
well,
stink is so bad. It
so,
definitely has a
so
shadow. And all of a sudden, Helio was giggling.
that's a Freudian slip because it did stink.
Yeah.
The experiment. Yeah. But
Yeah. It's the best way to ruin a joke, though, is to repeat it. I just totally destroyed that shit.
yeah, it's all right. There'll be plenty more. um. So I stopped looking into flat Earth for a while, like a year. And I came back to the community and I saw a bunch of new stuff people are talking about, and one was the moon map. Is that how do you guys feel about the moon map?
All right, I'll
Does
talk
anyone really
first.
listen?
I'll talk first. Everybody else can disagree with me.
Okay.
Dude, don't trust that shit. Like, there's no reason for it. It's literally all emotional reasoning. Like, and it's sort of beyond that. It's pareidolia. It's literally like recognizing patterns where there are none. Looking at the map and trying to say that that is like a reflection of the Earth and shit like that. Complete nonsensical bullshit. Like if you can't run with it at the very like it's one thing to think maybe. It's another to say that is what it is. And if that's what
No,
you're
no,
gonna do,
no. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, has anyone here like looked in to see if that like made sense? If you mapped it out,
it doesn't make
would the
sense. No.
continents? No. Okay. I
I mean,
haven't looked into it. I
in my opinion, there will be plenty of other people that will disagree with me. That's what I said. So like, go ahead and disagree with me afterwards. And like, dude, don't be one of those guys. I'll finish
So,
with that.
yeah, no, I didn't believe it or nothing. I was super interested and saw the vibes of Cosmos was like talking about it, and people were talking about his channel, and he was doing like documentaries, but he never really talks, at least that I could find, and it was all just kind of showing continents and like, you know,
If you believe that,
distances.
if
Like,
you
I don't
believe in
think
that, you'll believe anything that they try to feed you.
Can anyone summarize what y'all are talking about? Because I've not heard of this at all.
Yeah, so that the craters on the moon are pretty much Earth mapped out is what they
Well,
say, and
basically, if you take a negative, like if you take a picture of the moon, the dark spots and the light spots,
I
the
can link it.
you
Sure.
reverse it. You reverse it. So the light spots, instead of the being whatever,
White spots are water, and the dark
yeah,
spots would be like continents.
It's like the
yeah,
negatives
light
of
spots are water,
Or
dark
a full
spots are
moon.
continents, and all of a sudden it sort of starts to resemble, like if you look at only a small portion of the craters, all of a sudden you go that
Right.
sort of resembles an AE map. It doesn't resemble the Earth; it resembles an AE map slightly,
Yeah.
not exactly, slightly.
Right, but wouldn't it make?
I see.
And listen, so I don't know because I haven't. So if no one else here has like compared the sizes and the distances, and if it would make sense, then I don't think really any of us can claim for or against it. But just like my hypothesis was like, well, it would make a lot of sense if that was real and it was so closely resembled the the AE map. Because you gotta realize like none of us have mapped out the Earth, right? Like to measure over distances of ocean,
So
you can't do
should
that
we map the
accurately.
craters of the moon in a negative instead to try to figure out what we live on?
What do you mean?
That's the globe logic, right? Trying to look at the sky and trying to figure out what's on the ground.
No. Listen. I'm not saying that it is proof or that it's real or any of that. All I'm saying is that we should definitely look into if it is real.
if it is
It would
real.
make.
But we have no reason to believe it is real. So why should we look into it?
I
What do you
seen it
mean?
for I think maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense here and there, whatever. But I wouldn't use it as some like a like some type of proof, But it's more like a belief because but like I said, it's the logic with it. It's like it kind of like similar to the globe logic too, in a way, you know. Just
Oh
because
no,
the
so
flat earther came out with it, that doesn't mean
no, I
it's
don't
not.
even believe that guy's really a true flat earther. That guy came out of nowhere. In fact, before he presented it came from Ewar Annan, right? Like Ewar Annan. Like this dude came out and nobody ever heard of him, and all of a sudden he had this new flat Earth documentary. And when you put Anon at the end of your name, I automatically think of anonymous hacker group from back in the day, which was co-opted by the CIA, like in
QAnon.
like and QAnon. And I think not trustworthy. Anytime I hear
Mhm.
Anon attached to a name,
Mm,
I
yeah.
and I know some flat earthers out there that actually, trying to show me that stuff, and I look into it, and I didn't really turn it away, but I wouldn't depend on that at all.
Okay.
For the most
uh,
part.
Just to completely clear this up, I'm not for or against or any of that. Alls I was saying that it was really interesting. I didn't see that until like I came back to looking into everything, and um yeah, like the AE map, if it closely resembles it, well, I mean, it might be
it
pretty,
doesn't matter.
if it is.
We don't accept the AE map as being like a true version of the Earth anyway. So even if the
Right.
moon had a spot that looked somewhat like an AE map, it means absolutely nothing. You're like 3 fucking degrees away from fucking separation. You're at least 3 degrees of separation away from any kind of logic.
Wait, who?
If you were trying to make that correlation, the AE map is not the Earth. The moon looking
Right.
like the AE map is another degree yet. And it's not just the moon, it's the moon in negative and only a small portion of it.
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay, you're
Okay.
5 degrees of separation from reality.
Who? I. Yeah, but I never claimed it was real.
And I'm not saying
I don't
you.
know if
Look,
you're talking.
in
Oh,
not
gotcha.
you
Okay.
yourself. If you're gonna make
Gotcha.
that argument is 5 degrees of separation from reality.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone who claims it's real, all I'm saying is it would be interesting to look into if
Yeah,
the
it would be
distances they come in
it's
be
if all you're about is entertainment and not actually validating anything. If all you care about is speculation, it's interesting.
dude. That makes no sense. So
It
you're
makes a
saying
ton
we
of sense.
can't figure. But you're saying that there's no point in trying to figure out what the map of the Earth looks like?
The moon has nothing to do with the Earth. There's
No,
no
no,
fucking
no, no,
correlation or
no.
connection to it.
No, I didn't say it did. But don't you think it'd be interesting to figure out what the Earth mapped out would look like?
Why would it
Like
look
you
like the
and
moon or a certain portion of the moon in reverse?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I
Explain
I
it
was
to me.
just saying that.
Yeah,
Listen,
I know you kept saying like, oh, you just saying this and you saying that. Well, we just responding to you because you're the one that brought it up, and we just responding to whatever you said. That's it, and that's the end of the story. We're not saying you believe in that 100%. I mean, even if you do believe it, hey, we can't do nothing about it. But we just saying on our part too, just like we responding to it, like, hey, it's I don't think that's gonna prove anything. The moon map is not going to prove anything. It's just a bunch of dark spot over there, and people kind of patch it up, everything together, and make it look like, oh, it's the Earth map. This is how Earth's supposed to look like. And we saying that,
I,
oh,
I
that's BS. in a lot of ways.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
you have to
agree.
understand like what they're claiming with that. If you look at it, what Ewar was saying, or whoever the renamed name of it is, he's saying that it's a reflection of Earth onto the sky. Like that it's literally that the moon isn't
No, I
really
know.
there. That it's like a projection of the Earth into the sky. That's what he's saying.
Right. I watched what he was saying. And just was like, that's new information to look into. What I'm saying,
It's not information. It's not information. It's a new idea, a speculative idea with no basis or backing.
Sure. Idea. It's an interesting idea. Okay, I'll give you that. That's what I meant. Okay, so all I'm saying is that a map. It doesn't matter what map it is. It's going to be really hard to know if that even is accurate because, first of all, how are you going to measure distances over ocean, right?
That's legitimate,
there's
but
no,
what does that have to do with the moon?
there's no. Well, hold on. So, if there was some sort of way that we could figure out how to map the world, I don't think that we shouldn't try to do that. I don't think any of you guys think that we shouldn't try to map the world. So my point is that it would just be interesting. Sorry. It would be in our best interest to try and get a for sure map of the world. I don't have the tools to do it myself. But if we could measure distances and say, oh, well, keep doing it until we're like, this might make sense on the moon map or the AE map or the whatever map.
Why
you can
moon map?
confirm
Why would we consider a moon map?
What?
Why would we consider the moon map?
Why would you not? 'Cause you consider everything, right? That's what flat Earth is all about. Is consider everything and see why it's wrong or if it's right.
In order for it to be like useful, we would have to be able to do something with it, like navigate. We'd have to be able to go from place to place using that map and say this is a useful tool.
Right, and I don't know if any one of us
Can
knows.
you do that with the moon? Can you do that with the moon?
I don't know.
The craters?
I don't know.
All right, that would be your first step. We're not going to consider it till you can make it useful.
I'm not saying I'm not saying we should consider it.
No, make it. You did. You said, why wouldn't you consider it? So you said that, yeah.
Yeah, but not consider it.
And you make it useful, and then maybe we'll consider it.
This kind of just went into more than it should have been. All I was saying was that
No.
Actually,
You took yourself there. You took yourself there.
No. Hold on. Let me clarify what Lou's getting at. We like to be very when it comes to the way that we run this whole forum is off of empiricism. So it's not a personal attack on you just because we dismiss an idea that you put forward. So don't take it personally. Just, if you've got some more information, you can present it. If not, then, it's just pure speculation.
Yeah, and that's all I've ever said. I never claimed it to be anything more,
Well, but you're putting up a huge fight, like to try to save. Like you literally said, when I said I wouldn't even consider. When I said I wouldn't even consider the moon map, why would we consider the moon map? And you said, "Why? Wait. Why wouldn't you? We consider all things." No, that's not true. We don't just consider all things because you present it. You could tell me. You could tell me that a great dragon is going to come from the sky and it's going to cause like famine or whatever, and I would say, okay, why do you think that? And you'd be like, well, now you have to take me as seriously as anybody who says anything else. Like,
But
you just
I don't even
because you presented it, it's legitimate.
The definition of consider is to think carefully about something, typically before making a decision. That's exactly what you're saying and what I'm
No,
saying.
I'm telling you, you cannot present anything without having evidence or reason. You can't just like present something out of the blue, out of nowhere. And that's what the moon map is. It's literally out of the blue, out of nowhere.
Sure. But yeah, but I wasn't saying that it was real.
You
I
didn't
never
have
made
to
that
say it's
claim.
real. You've been defending it. Like, why wouldn't you consider it? So in that, you are basically saying
To think carefully about something before making a decision. To
you're
consider.
basically saying we should treat it as an equal, which would be a red herring. It would be a red herring. Do you know what a red herring argument is?
You're gonna have to redefine it.
There's no
Think
such
about your
thing as a
movies.
red
Okay, think about movies. The way that they will twist the plot at the end to like a whodunit movie. They're always giving you red herrings throughout the movie so that you come up with your own conclusion before the movie ends and gives you the plot. Those are called red herrings.
Sure.
There's no such thing as a red herring, by the way. Like, they don't
Right.
exist. Like, as far as herring goes, do you know what a herring is? It's a fish, right? There's no such
Yeah.
thing as a red herring fish.
Gotcha. Okay, so I don't really know how this kind of turned into what it. All I was saying that is that it was an interesting idea. That's really
Yeah. Well,
all it was.
this server is all about a learning experience for all of us.
Hmm.
We've all been on here. We kept our. I've been on here for a while. A lot of the time has been spent on mute and listening and learning.
Yeah.
So it really is just a learning experience, no matter what you do in life. So just take it as that and nothing personal. We have to iron sharpens iron. We have to keep ourselves sharp in here. So
Hey,
if don't take anything as a personal attack, but when you bring
Uh,
forth something, you got to be able to back it up, or it's going to be dismissed, just like you witnessed here tonight.
yeah, for real. She said it exactly right. No hard feelings from my side towards you, but the best thing you can do here is bow out if you're not willing to go all the way. You don't want to fucking go halfway into arguing for the stupid fucking moon map unless you're gonna go all the way, because then I will scare you. Kind of
I
like the
never
guy,
argued for it. Never
kind
did.
of like the guy who, the guy
I
who
never
was just
argued
doing
for it.
the initial thing. You might not have been on here. I don't know how long you were listening, or you might have just jumped in. But the conversation not long before you got in here was a completely different one. But it was all about logical fallacies and using logical thought. Like, so it's actually similar in that way, where you're not using proper logic to present your argument, and you will lose if you cannot bring
It,
forth logic. If you use logical fallacies, you will lose. We
it
will.
wasn't. It wasn't an argument.
No, you didn't argue, but you did present something. You made a you were
Didn't
you
make a
presented
claim.
it in the way you presented it in the way of a question, like, what do you guys think about this? And then when I said we don't think anything of it, you said, well, wait, why wouldn't you? You have to. No, we don't.
I didn't say you had to. I didn't say you had to. I said, well, why wouldn't we? And to consider just means to
Well, I
think
gave you
carefully
lots of
about
reasons why
something.
we wouldn't then, in that case. I gave you lots of
Okay.
reasons why we wouldn't.
Okay, that's fine. I was just to consider it is not. It makes sense for what you're saying and for what I'm saying,
As
so I don't
soon
really
as,
know.
as I said earlier, as soon as you present a positive claim or a real evidence or a proof or a usefulness to it, now, now we have a reason to consider it. But you haven't done so.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting idea. That's all.
It is interesting. Like when
Yeah.
you want, like when you get real high and you want to fucking just think about like what if, like then it's really interesting.
Okay, get real high. What is it? Why is this like attacks now? Like I don't.
No, no, no.
I've
I
never
like to.
smoked
I
weed.
like to smoke weed too. When I'm really fucking stoned, I like to think about shit like that too.
Well, I've never smoked or drank a day in my life, so I
Well,
don't know.
you should try it because you're pretty good at it.
What is, okay, now you're fucking insulting me.
Yeah. Now maybe that if you want to take it as an insult, you listen, sugar. You fucking
No, that's what it
you
was.
gotta handle your
Fucking.
own shit, man. Like, dude,
Wait,
don't be so
Shit, you're
sensitive.
bringing up a You're bringing up a nothing sandwich when I was just presenting a question and ideas.
Lou's just being a shithead. It's okay. People are shitheads sometimes. I am guilty too.
Oh, it's all good. That's
Do
that's
you
what
need
happened.
me to coddle you and praise you? Is that what's going on?
I need you to coddle and praise these nuts.
Yeah. All right. Go. Fucking. How big are they?
Bigger than yours.
Doubt it.
Good grief. This has gone downhill.
I did appreciate that answer though. That took a little bit of balls to say that. That just bigger than yours. That was a good answer. That was good. I like that.
Can you measure the curvature on your balls, at least?
Well,
You
this
gotta-
guy
you gotta-
this guy doesn't like talking about ideas, I guess. You'd be a
No,
terrible philosopher.
I do like. No, I'm a good at philosophy. It's just that that's not what we do in here. This place, you missed us by a day. Speculation Sunday was yesterday. Okay, when you want to
Yeah,
talk about crazy shit like that,
I was
like
here.
we kind of hold off. We try not to focus on that kind of stuff in this forum. We try to talk about things that are more empirical, evidential, um, like reality stuff. Like we're not going to sit here and talk about like what if you lived in a simulation or solipsism or any like crazy shit like that. Like that's what the world wants you to think, but it's and they would love for you to bring that to our discussion. No, we're going to talk about
Okay,
what we do
here's a question. So here's a question. If you don't consider a bunch of different possibilities about how the world works, how are you gonna ever come
the
to
moon.
any new?
Listen, in order to consider any idea, no matter what it is, you can present any idea you want. You have to have some type of logic or reason to present it, and you have provided none for this moon map. It's just an
Right.
idea out of nowhere. So if you want me to consider it, give me a reason.
Well, none of us really know the exact layout of the continents on the Earth, right? No one claims to know
That's
that.
not a reason. That's not a reason.
Well, what? No, that was a question I'm asking. Like, no one really knows here, right? Correct.
We have a general idea of the shape of the continents and their orientation, but to determine specific distances or angles and stuff, yeah, it would be very hard to determine that for real.
Right. And so all I was saying is like, oh, well, has anyone here, has anyone tried to piece together distances and continent sizes and break it down and see if that moon map made sense? And so what would make sense to me is for if someone has to come forward and be like, oh, well, yeah, I looked into it and it doesn't really make sense because I don't know, this continent is way closer than this one appears to be in real life, or uh Hawaii is
You
just
do realize also, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you do realize you've already said like a dozen times that you're not like sticking to this moon map thing, but you keep getting offended and trying to stand up for it.
No, I'm not standing up for it. I'm standing up for it. Just seemed like when I brought it up, it was like, oh, we're not even going to think about that. Like, there's no point in thinking.
I said that was my opinion, and that people were probably going to disagree with me. It just so
The
happens
problem
that
is, how do you
everybody.
confirm it? Yeah. So
It
you
just, it
can't.
just so happens that yeah. Go ahead, Timbo.
No, I was just going to say, the problem is, like, you can come up with these ideas. That's fair enough, but when what we do is in here is we hold the Globers to a pretty high standard of evidence. Now, if we start doing the same thing, we're no better than they are. Yeah.
Right, but so what I still said stands. No one here really. No, well, hold on. No one has really looked into it much or has seen if the continents line up
Well,
or any.
what do
Well,
you
actually,
what do
it's
you
been looked
compare it
into
So we
to,
can't
though?
we can't
It's been
confirm
looked
nor
into
deny.
quite a bit.
Yeah, you've got nothing to compare it to, though.
Sure.
Like to
I
say,
mean,
this looks right. Looks right to what? You know what I mean?
sure. I mean, a lot of people use the AE map, correct, and it's like fairly accurate for what we think the sun and moon, what do you
I'm
call it?
not
The
sure about
ellipticals
that.
they take.
Yeah,
No,
none of us are sure about that.
Yeah.
Like I already told you that we don't take the map as being our model.
no, I know.
Yeah, models are pseudoscience, anyways. Duh, Lou.
Thank you.
Well, no, and I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. But I mean, we roughly have a model. Like, we can't just say we don't know at
No, no, no,
all.
no,
Like,
no, no, no. We don't have a model. There,
You know what
there
a
are no
model is?
models. Yeah, for real. Models are pseudoscience. They're supplied as some idea of an invalid hypothesis. That can't even be put through the scientific method. So
Well,
that's the whole
I
point
would
of
disagree with
models.
that, Fletchy.
Oh well, why don't you
Like,
present the citation, please?
what we're looking for when you say a model, we're looking for a scientific model. A scientific model meaning that it has been tested against, that it has had you know instead of just taking like a model is not a theory, it's not an idea. A model is
right.
something
Hold
that's
on, I
been
gotta
put
get
together
citation.
through data, and now it may or may not be true, but it's at least closer to truth than just whatever your fucking hopes desire is.
Sure. Yeah, I
Oh my
agree with that.
goodness, that was painful. Clearly talking about a physical representation of a spatial relationship. For example, a scale model of a car represents a larger car, but it's accurate proportionately in its arrangement
Yeah,
spatially. It's not trying to talk about
yeah,
a scientific model.
right. That's
No,
what I'm saying.
he's not talking about a scientific model, but what I'm saying is when we're talking about these type of things, we want it to be backed up in um either science, yes, but no, this could be argued also because our shapes, science, so on and so forth. But he has nothing to, like Timbo said, nothing to put it against. He has no way of showing that model, that moon or that moon map. He has no way of knowing if that's what the Earth looks like by his own admission,
Yeah, I
and
never claimed to do.
by his own admission, he has no idea what the Earth looks like. So this is
Right.
nowhere near proof in any way, and nowhere near a model.
And never did I claim it was. Right.
Right.
Like,
So why don't we just go as far as what is known, which is when you
yeah,
take the continents, right, and you superimpose them with a graphic arts program over the moon craters, you can arrange them in a way that when you fade them in and out, it bears a striking resemblance to the overall shape. Now, that is true. That's known. That's factual. Now, what
yeah,
that means beyond that, it could be conjecture. For example, you have to take the continents and you have to splay them out in a particular arrangement in order to get them to match. which is not necessarily where they are located on the globe or even on the AE map. They're not quite exact. So no matter how you slice and dice it, we have a general shape of the continents, a general relationship between them, but it doesn't appear we have any specifics claimed, except in the globe model they claim specifics, right? At least they attempt to, right?
Right. And that's all I was getting at. I don't know what it was turned in such a nothing sandwich at the end. I don't know why it turned
Well,
into what it
here's
did.
why. Here's why. Some people will say the moon is the map,
Right.
or the moon is an accurate map of the Earth.
Right, but Arden, you are smart enough to realize that I never did that.
Hold on. Don't appeal to him because you literally did. You said that it could be, and that it would be ridiculous not to consider that it might be.
Yes, to think carefully about something before believing it. Yes.
Look, let's say, for instance, let's just give it and say that it is a map of the Earth. Okay, let's say that's the case. It is a map of the Earth. Does that mean it's an accurate map? Because we know there's tons of maps of places that are drawn by retards that can't draw good, right? And they're all out of proportion, all out of where they're supposed to be. But it is a map, no less, right? So
Right,
what if
because there's no way to measure the
just think about it. Just think about it. What if a retarded alien was flying around and he looked down at the Earth and he was like drunk and he decided to draw a map of the Earth real quick with crayons on the moon?
Yeah, but that's not the claim, though. AI, like they say that the moon itself is not just a map like that was drawn by somebody. They say it is a reflection of the Earth, and that it also shows the outer ponds and stuff like that that we have not explored or we're not able to get to. Like they say, it is literally a reflection of the Earth into the sky.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any evidence of a reflection, right? Because there's no way to validate that because you can't verify any live occurrences, right? And the superimpositions that they do in Photoshop, right, where you scale one and the other so you can see one right behind the other, they don't match up perfectly. So how could it be a reflection? Because, for example, if you live in a territory that's an island, let's say, you could drive around your island and see what the coastline looks like, right? And then you could see that it doesn't match the moon. So how could it be a real time reflection?
Well, can you though? And that is what I was asking. It's like, do we know that?
Well, dude, if you live on an island that's circumnavigatable, right? In principle, you can chart that thing.
Yes, correct.
Unless, hold on now, unless space and time and the continuum therein is non-congruent. In other words, space could be smaller here than there. You wouldn't know because you'd be experiencing it on a contracted level.
Well,
but it wouldn't match up, right? And that's where you start getting into.
Aware of the cartographer's paradox too, as well. So, like, the more data points you take, the bigger the land gets. So, like, how do you accurately chart the land?
No, it's not that the bigger the land gets; it's that the longer the perimeter.
The coastline paradox. The coastline paradox. That's what it's actually called. Yeah.
It just becomes more defined, like more resolved, more.
Right, but the more, but it also becomes elongated.
Well, yes and no. Like the overall shape isn't going to increase in size. Just the amount of linear. Yeah. Well, that's not true. Like the shape, if you use the different measurements, right, the facets can only fit. So it will actually change shape. It will change shape, but it won't become a larger footprint.
Only the model. The real land doesn't change. Only the model doesn't change. So, like, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger because there's no straight lines anywhere. So it
doesn't get bigger. It doesn't get bigger. It actually the coastline itself, as it becomes more resolved, gets smaller, but the linear length of the coastline gets longer. If that makes sense.
I don't know why the other part would get smaller. I get the other part of that.
Well,
Why would it
think
get
about it.
smaller?
If you use, okay, if you have a yardstick, right, and you have a crook in the pond in the river that's a foot, you can only measure from one point to another. You can't actually put your yardstick in the crook. So the perimeter would be out from the center further, right? And you'd actually get closer as you put that in. So you'd have less and less footprint, but you'd have more and more linear length of coastline. That's another reason why it's a paradox in a way.
Because it makes no sense. Gotcha.
No, think about it this way. Like, you remember N64 graphics? You remember N64 graphics? Everyone's blocky. And the more refined the graphics get, right, the character becomes smaller, more defined.
Think about it this way, Lou. If the line around the island is jagged, the line is technically longer because it's going back and forth along.
Yeah, it's
around
got
the
more.
island.
It's got more surface area, so it keeps getting longer and longer. The more times you take data points, the length along the coastline gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why it's called the coastline paradox. You keep taking more data points, and the land grows.
Wrong. The coastline grows, the land shrinks.
Yeah, because originally, when you take the first datum, you're drawing it along the water. You're not following every inlet in. So that's gonna have a bigger or wider area, but
right. So you have more land, and then when you draw a more refined coastline, you have more water, and so the land volume shrinks while the coastline gets longer.
I can get the general idea behind what you're saying, but that's still not the point. Like, we're talking about him and his moon map. So again, comparing, if you're trying to say that the moon is the Earth, like the moon is plotting the Earth, a reflection of the Earth. How would you know that? Where would you get this basis idea from?
He left. He's gone.
Yeah, he took his window of opportunity and left.
Dude, you get it from looking at the moon, right, and noticing a similarity in shape, and then taking the images of the maps we have, superimposing them over that shape, and getting them to generally fit, and then saying, "Wow, that's uncannily similar." However, I don't see enough evidence
being for consideration.
To think carefully about it before accepting it, yes. I mean, you don't have to. Granted, you don't. Like, that makes sense to me. You don't have to think about it. You can go, present other proofs to people and represent flat Earth in a bunch of other good ways without knowing exactly what the layout of the continents look like. I agree with that.
What is your tie to this thing that you claim no fucking tie to? Like, what's your beef with it? Like, or with not considering it? How about that? Like, why are you so? I mean, you're attached to this idea, whether you want to claim it or not.
I'm not attached to it. I'm more arguing against why you just if we don't know something, we just can't talk about it, and that makes no sense.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can't consider it equally.
Equally to what?
Some things can be tossed out when instead you have other things. When you have things with a basis in reality, you don't have to consider the things without any fucking evidence. Like when there's things that with the Earth, our maps and everything. Each map has a certain amount of usefulness. That's what makes it a map. That's why it gets published. It's because it's got a certain type of usefulness. There's many maps. They're not all the same. but they all have a certain usefulness, and they are all based in reality. When it comes to your moon map, the only possible usefulness that it has is in mapping the moon. It has nothing to do with the Earth, none whatsoever.
Well, that's what so you know that then.
Yes, I know that.
Okay, so
What are you saying in considering the moon map as being
hold on.
a reflection of Earth?
Well, no, I never claimed that. I just asked if you knew that.
That's what the whole moon map talk is about.
Yes, I'm aware. But so how do you know that it isn't, though, is all I was asking.
I don't have to prove the negative.
You don't.
You have to prove,
you don't.
You have to prove the positive. And so therefore there's your claim.
I never claimed it.
You're
Dude, I
it.
can answer that question. I can answer that question very, very saliently. I can answer that question because when I look at the moon, I don't see the reflection of grass, trees, colors of the earth, right? Those types of things. So I know it's not a literal reflection. That's obvious. Okay, there's the answer.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I think it's a reflection of Earth.
You don't know it, but you're making a positive claim. You don't think you are, but you are.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm not just gonna allow you to say that's not what I'm doing. I know what fallacies are, and I never.
By standing by it and continuing to argue it and saying prove it's not true. When you say to me prove it's not true, you are asking me to prove the negative. And what would be vice versa to it? You are then, because I can't prove a negative, so you are making the positive. Okay, so you are making the positive claim by asking me to prove the negative.
Dude, never in my life has it been so. I don't even know. Like, Arden over here understands.
Yeah, no, he does. Explain it to him, Arden. You think he's on your side, dude? You think he's on your side?
That all I'm saying is, it'd be interesting to look into and see if the moon continents match up with reality. Oh, if not, then that's cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It would also not prove anything about reality.
Well, it would prove that the moon is an accurate layout of the continents of Earth.
No. It would just prove that it has an uncanny similarity.
Yes.
No.
Right. So in order to do that, you have to have the baseline accurate map first to apply to it. So which one are you going to pick that exists, or are you going to go make your own? If you're going to go make your own, good luck with that. I mean, you probably die before you accomplish that task.
So,
but your
wait a minute.
grandchildren might do it.
So, like, if you look at the moon in the northern, I want to say hemisphere. You know, I know that's not a good word here. And then look
Northern
at the
hemisphere,
southern
the inner
hemisphere,
circle.
it's flipped, right? So, how can that be
Right.
possible to see that same the image of the moon?
What?
If you're in the northern hemisphere, like on a flat Earth?
Yeah, what's flipped?
The image of the moon.
Okay, perfect. So you solve that by asking yourself a few questions that you can answer quite simply, which is this. If you're standing on one side of an object and another person standing on another side of an object, let's say it's a poster on the ground, they will see, if it's a poster, let's say it's a poster of a person. The one person will see the head closest to them because that's what's closest to them. And they will see the torso furthest from them. And the other person will see the opposite, simply because they're in two different positions relative to the position of what they're looking at. That's not that complicated of a process, regardless of the shape of the Earth.
Yeah, but they can't see the other part of the. You know, it's.
What?
Is this
no? Hold on. Let's be clear. Let's be clear here. everyone sees the same face of the moon. Period.
Yeah.
Yep.
The end.
At all
right?
times of the day, on all days of the year. And when it goes,
Right. So there's
when there's a new moon, it's a new moon for everybody. There's not like one person on the side of the earth who sees some moon, and then people on the other side of the earth who see no moon. No, there is no moon for everybody on that same day.
Yeah, I get that.
Right. So what's excluded between being in one position or the other? The only
Wait, hold
difference.
on. Is STL, what is STL even asking? Are you like new to like flat Earth, and you're asking how you can see the opposite of
I'm
us?
not new. I'm just trying to like.
That's not what he's
there's
saying.
Another argument.
Dude, it's a very simple question. Like, it's always put out there by globe proponents that because you see the moon in a different orientation compared to somebody else, that must mean the Earth is a globe. But that's silly.
Okay. So
For various reasons, it's
eclipses,
silly. But
they
go
only
ahead.
happen.
Go
The
ahead.
eclipses only happen when there's a new moon, right? They only can occur when there's a total solar eclipse, right? And if you look at the path the path of totality that it takes, it's usually like a curved line. Like, why is it curved like that if the Earth is flat?
Well,
Like,
what's curved? What's curved?
The path of totality. You know, if you ever look at it, it's like kind of an S curve, and it has like there's a cone shape to it.
You say the shape of the shadow?
Yeah.
Like,
Dude,
assuming
the
that it's a shadow?
The path.
Dude, who's throwing their silverware at their microphone?
They're angry.
Oh, I'm in the kitchen. That's me.
Oh, it's all good, bro.
Okay, so what do you mean by path of totality? Like where the people on the earth can see it in totality?
Right. Yeah. If you look at the path, it's curved usually, and it's like a cone shape in some places too.
A cone shape.
Like it widens.
You mean the shadow? You mean the shadow that's being cast upon the ground?
I guess you could say that because like it's wider in some sections, you know, and narrow in others.
Okay, sure. So I mean, I don't see any problem with that. Like you can have different shadow cast on any surface.
But why wouldn't it move like in a curve, like in an arc versus like a line? You know what I mean?
I don't.
There's too many unknowns in this question. So like, yeah, we have to know. See, like you clearly have like an idea of a flat Earth model, not just the Earth itself, but what the sun and the moon are and what they do.
Right.
Like, so like, none of us can answer those questions.
Well, I mean, there's the globe answer, right?
Yeah, and then there's no flat Earth answer, and you're not satisfied with that, clearly.
No, that's that. No.
Well, look, think about it this way. The globe answer is a three body relationship, right? Okay, the sun, the earth, and the moon, and their location in free space relative to each other. Now, I want to be clear here. No one has ever validated that relationship. No one has ever been to a location where all three bodies can be ascertained simultaneously. Bro, you got it, man. Oh, holy crap.
I don't know what it is with the sensitivity, Mike. It ain't that bad. Continue.
It's really bad, Lou. I'll mute you until you're done.
Damn.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why I like this flip up mic. So when I'm doing something loud, I can flip it up and it auto mutes. But yeah, so the three body relationship that's claimed in the globe model is at best an inference, at best, based upon assumptions of what you're seeing on the earth. and relationships that could work, but it's never been validated. No one's ever been to where the sun, the earth, and the moon are ascertainable simultaneously where you can validate their location to each other. Never been done.
Yeah, you can.
What?
Yeah,
From where?
because we sit on on the ground. We can see the sun and the moon. We're on the earth.
Wow, dude. Not even close, brother.
What do you mean? How's that not
Dude.
even close?
Dude, how do you know the location of the earth and the sun and the moon in relationship to each other from being on the earth alone?
Even total solar eclipse.
Ah, I see. So, what about a solar eclipse informs you of the three body relationship?
The way it performs, they have the shadow that's cast, right? And going back to that,
Shadow of what?
the
What?
shadow of it would be the moon.
Okay, perfect. So, here's what I will ask you. I
Gotcha.
want, this is what I want. Don't get me wrong, you're not the first person I've asked. I want proof that the moon is present during said eclipse.
What?
No, I'm not joking.
Oh, well, what do you think it is? If it's not a
You can
moon,
see the moon and the sun.
Notice the question that's being posed to me. What do you think it is? No, you claimed it was the moon. I want evidence of your claim that the moon is present during the eclipse.
video.
A video of what, please? Well, I want you to describe what's in the video.
Total solar eclipse from 2017.
But what is in the video? What do I see if I'm looking at this video? What would I be seeing? Would I be seeing the moon?
Sun, and then you'll see the
Right.
moon as well.
Where?
In front of the sun.
Well, really? So I'll see the moon. You sure about that?
I
No.
remember, listen. Hold on. So I remember. Hold on.
Go ahead.
I remember viewing this thing with my own eyes.
Right.
In 2017, I was in the path of totality, and I saw the moon. Like if you look, it's a new moon, but if you can kind of, if you before it was a total, you could see it up in the sky, right? And if you kind of look and you know where the moon's at, you can see the new moon if it's faint, if on a clear sky, right?
What does it look like?
It's really faint. You see some of the reflection of the light hitting off of the earth going up to the moon, right?
But like, what does it look like, though? Does it look like just a pale spot of circularity?
It's hard. Yeah, I guess so.
Right. So there's no way to validate whether it's the moon or not, right?
Oh, come on now.
No, look, dude. Okay, I'm asking for validation here. Okay. See this all come on now.
Okay, we could do like a the radio test. We can bounce radio signals off of it, right?
Maybe that at least be something.
There you go.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm look. It's very simple, and I'm not pressing you for this because I've asked everyone, right, who's ever put this argument. And I'm talking about globe apologists who have channels have come in here and asserted that this is what's happening. I asked them for validatable evidence that the moon is present during the eclipse. I have yet to receive one piece of that evidence yet.
And sorry to interrupt, but can't you see both the moon and the sun both above the horizon at the same time during these eclipses, proving that
No.
isn't
During certain, not this type of
selenium
eclipse. Other type of eclipse. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my bad. That's
Now again, though, let's just say for sake of argument, okay, that the sun and the moon are above the earth and the moon can get in front of the sun relative to you. Okay, let's say that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an earth and we have two other things above it. Okay. What does that prove about the shape of the earth? All it proves is that two objects are above you.
Right.
All right, but then you look at the path that it takes, right? The path of this path of totality that it takes across the Earth, and you would, if you wouldn't just see this like on, I guess on a flat Earth, you'd see like the sun and the moon, moving across the sky in such a fashion, like it was arcing and well, it does arc, but it would like turn in some degrees, right? In the flat Earth model.
Oh yeah, that's assuming that the sun and the moon are in a particular way, right? So you're using globe Earth assumptions in the flat Earth model and mixing the models.
No, because in certain times of the year, the sun will move directly, like straight across the sky during equinoxes. If you're gonna write a piece of shit on the
Right.
right? But other times, it arcs, right? So why in some events, some days of the year, it goes straight across the sky, and all the other days of the year, it will slightly arc and arc even larger on like when it's
Oh, that's simple. The sun and the if the moon's causing it, then the sun and the moon are in relatively differential locations relative to the media that the light's traveling through. That's even conceding that it's the moon and the sun specifically.
it would be
There
the
are
sun.
alternative theories.
That's not what he's asking.
So I would think on a flat Earth, you would see on during the equinox, the sun would have to turn at some point. Because I've seen it where it's like circling above the Earth. You would see it during the equinox, like turn at some point, but it doesn't.
During the equinox, you'd seen it turn. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do
on
you
a
mean
flat
by
Earth,
turn?
like because it moves directly across the sky during the equinox. Like in your Tropic of Cancer or Tropic of Capricorn, it would move directly due east to due west. All the other days
Right.
it would arc. If you'd follow
right.
like
So where
yeah.
so where are you observing this from? Like I mean, if you're closer to the equator,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna appear, you know, if the sun is in the summer, let's say for the south, it's going to appear to how do I put this? So are you saying in some parts of the world, like the equator, it looks like the sun goes directly overhead in a straight line?
Yeah,
Yes,
not
and
not the
then
equator, but it's like specifically like Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. So there's even like statues
right,
that they've built. Like there's one in Hawaii during this event. The sun will go directly above you, and it would shine
yep,
down upon this like
yep,
statue, like a design only on this certain day of the year, like a
yes,
perfect
okay,
shadow.
yeah, yeah, this is true. Um, so you got to understand too that the same thing works for both models, right? So if it's a globe, then all they're saying that's happening is that the Earth is just turning and everything's curved. So
Well, it's
you
yeah,
know
it's
so
no, sorry to cut you off. It's due to the axis shift, like in the globe
yeah,
model. Okay, it's due to the
right,
axis
right.
shift, and then also
Because on one half of the year it's still shifted. So the other side of the of the tilted Earth isn't going to get the same kind of sunlight because it's now on the opposite side of the sun, but it's tilted away from it instead of towards it,
right, but
and vice versa.
in the
Yeah,
globe Earth, the orbit of the Earth is in ellipse, and there's certain
yeah,
parts like where the ellipse is like the furthest point from the um the sun, and with the axis tilt as it's rotating on that day, the sun makes
Um,
like a straight line across the sky in
your
the globe
ellipse
Earth
has
model. Okay, I'll
in
preface it
in
with
your
that.
little model. Your ellipse has no elliptical orbit has nothing to do with that. In fact, during like the summertime, the northern
it's
hemisphere
farther.
summertime, the sun is farther away, not closer, according to your model. So what they claim is it's about direct sunlight. So they claim that the axial tilt that you're talking about gives you more direct light towards it. So it's hitting you at more like a 90-degree angle or closer, which
Yeah.
again that could be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the spreading out of the light. As the light spreads out over a larger area, it loses intensity. Basically, that's how
Right.
they explain it.
Right. So what I'm wondering is why it makes the same thing applies for both, like the sun path at least.
No, I mean, how? Like, if you would
What do
see
you
it
mean? What do you mean?
turn like during the day, like when it moves directly across you, right? And I'm just thinking if I'm on the flat Earth, right, and if the Earth is flat, sorry.
What is your profession?
See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.